Green and Ben Sissel bringing you the action of our next group coming up. I apologize. I've got to turn my mics on more often. Jonathan Green and Ben Sissel bringing you the action from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. And we are now turning our attention to Group 1, 3, 4, and 5B. Thank you, my friend.
Ooh, look at that. I love it. These Lotus 23s, those are so low.
Thumbs up from Ger Ramlev, who had a really good run yesterday in this car.
Yeah, I like this this race. We have a lot of 23Bs, 23Cs. We've got 4 of them, which is a lot. We don't see a lot of those. That's Mark Brannon right there in the 62 Lotus 23C, followed by Randall Green. Randall's with us quite a bit, and that's a beautiful 63 Lotus 23B.
That is a classic, that 63, isn't it? That's beautiful. That says Lotus. It screams Lotus.
Yeah, so if you don't know a lot about Lotus, Gordon Chapman, his whole thing was, he always said to add lightness, meaning he built a car and then he would do everything he could. Yeah, Graham Chapman, sorry. He would do everything he could to make the cars lighter and more nimble. So they're not, they don't have exceptional power, but they're so light and they can handle the turns so well. So it's a lot of fun. That was Travis Engen. And here we are in the 1961 Huffaker Genie Mark III of John Fudge.
Well, that's basically how the evolution of Europe versus America kind of started. Was the Brits brought over, the Europeans brought over these very lightweight cars, especially the Brits, and especially Graham Chapman, and it frustrated the Americans. No, by all means. So they just they said, well, what are we going to do? We just put bigger engines in, and that's how the sort of American spirit of big bore came in. Really, was to kind of nullify these lightweight, nimble British and European Maserati, Italian Ferraris and so on, and yeah, that's where the battle began. And then the Japanese came in and kind of did a hybrid of both.
Yeah, they made them reliable.
Yes. But that's a bit chilly in there this morning.
Yeah, that's Robert Bowden right there. Beautiful car, number 22, 1957 Devon Ryan Special. Here's another Devon. That's Arthur Connor, 1959 Devon D.
That's a good-looking car. I love the paint scheme too. I love that color, that metallic grayish blue, and just really nice. Here it is, Elva. I've got to get me some British headlights like that.
Yeah, I like that. They're all smiling, just so you know, but you know, you can't see it.
Ah, the Mini, a Peace Mini.
Yeah, that's Don Racine. He's out here racing with his son. Yesterday, we had Paul Quackenbush in the 62. So there's a 61, a 62, and then the 177 Patty Hopkirk looking car. They're all there. It is the red car. That's the 54 of Gilbert Hakim in the 1972 9144.
That's the prettiest Mini I've seen this weekend.
Yeah, I love
and he had the lights on yesterday and looked fantastic.
He'll turn the lights on with the leather buckle, keeping the hood down, the bonnet down.
Ah,
those
good
little
man.
Stripes there around the windshield is a defogger.
You understandeth the bonnet.
Yeah.
Good man. We'll get you talking proper soon.
There's the SCCA sports racer, the Renault. And now you notice to the bottom left, we had our TA2 race yesterday, and a lot of those rigs rolled out.
Yeah.
But that was a full paddock yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Becky Pengraff, our grid chief this weekend, just said cars on course. So here we go for our Group 1, 3, 4, and 5B feature race 2.
Now this is a lot of different groups here. So can you give us a little bit of an education on why 4 groups? And
Group 1 is like, I think it's under 2 liter, 1972 or older. So that's the small bore production cars. Then Group 3 is a little bit more bigger bore, I think 2 to 2.5 or maybe 2 to 3 liter. So that's a lot of the Porsche 356s, some of these Devons, MGBs would count for that. And then Group 4 are cars like, let me see here, the Lotus 11. So they're still kind of production cars, but on a smaller scale. The Maserati T61 of Jeff O'Neill.
Yeah, officially it says the golden age of sports car racing in the United States and Europe. There you go.
And those cars have quite a bit more value usually than the Group 1 and 3 cars. And then the 5B are like kind of purpose-built but factory-built race cars like the Lotus 23 Bs and Cs. But again, they kind of pull similar lap times, similar lines, so for safety reasons we put them out there. We couldn't put 5B out by itself because there's only 4 cars, and that wouldn't make for an interesting show. So you watch for them to pull way ahead and then probably have to navigate through lap traffic.
And that's a big part of the grouping too. You want to have a decent amount so that you've got a spectacle and a chance to see at least 20 cars out there if you can. And that's what amazes me, is the amount of cars that SVRA is able to galvanize at an event, at any event. I mean, how many did you probably have the same sort of numbers last week at Sonoma, right?
Yeah, we had really good, strong numbers, a lot of really nice cars. There was a Jaguar C-Type racing in this race, in this group with us last weekend that was just, I love the C-Type.
Oh, you were telling me Jim Alder was going wheel to wheel with him, right?
Yeah, beautiful car. So we have 38 cars in this field, and you'll see a lot of really, really nice cars. So I can't wait. This is my favorite group of cars. My favorite racing group is that HTA group that we'll see later on. But these are my favorite cars. I love the small bore British production cars of the MGs, the Minis, the Austin Healey's, the Sprites.
And I'll bet there are a real handful around the Corkscrew and so on, some of these fast left and right-handers here.
And I hope we get a good shot of the Minis coming over because they're so stiff, the suspension setup on these Minis. They look like they're just falling.
Yeah.
They don't look like they're driving over. They look like they're falling over, and then the wheels come back to them. Notice behind that yellow Corvette, that's a Marcos. Those are pretty rare, but he was telling me that the Marcos uses the same windshield as that Lancia Stratos, a really pretty rally car from back in the day. And then once you see that car close up, you can be like, yeah, I can see that. It kind of has the same lines in the windshield area.
You know, you talk about that stiff chassis for the Mini, and yet in its day, you know, Paddy Hopkirk and many others went rallying with those cars. So you think about what you need to be able to rally. You need a chassis that will work with you when you're in fourth gear and sideways.
Yeah.
And yet those Minis made it.
Yeah, they weren't designed to be race cars by any means, much like the B sedan cars, but it turns out they had good balance and good performance. Front-wheel drive really gave Paddy Hopkirk the ideal through the snow and the rain.
You'll remember this. We actually had somebody who drove one of the cars in the Italian job here, one of the instructors. I forget his name. Phil Wicks, that was it. So, and he was talking about the making of the film and how those Minis just were fantastic to work with.
Yeah, he had to drive, I think, 8 cars through that brick wall just for that one scene. And he actually said pulling it onto the trailer was the easiest thing they did in the stunt driving. But in the movie, they had to make it look harder.
Yes.
But pulling it onto that moving bus, he said that we did it first time every time.
And in the movie, they kept like...
Yeah, in the movie, they had to make it... They kept doing it, and the director's like, no, you got to make it look harder. Because they all did it first try, he said. Here we go.
Here we go, then. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca opens up to the noise of Group 1, 3, 4, and 5B. 30-plus cars roaring down towards the Andretti curve.
Yeah, so look for the Minis of Don Racine and Dennis Racine to try to take that inside. They will have the advantage. They can put the power down a lot sooner through these technical sections, and they don't need the heat in their tires like the other ones do. They're running 10-inch wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, they're up to temperature immediately, aren't they? So, into turn 2.
Ooh, good
and
battle
up to turn
here.
3 already.
Up front.
Yep. Ramleth holding on to the lead for now. And Mark Brannan right there with him.
Yeah, Mark Brannan is running a Lotus 23C, which
Here
means
he comes.
a little bit bigger engine, a little bit wider. You can see in the bodywork, it's just a little bit wider car, so he should have the advantage once his tires come to him. Look at that Porsche 9144. And the Chevy Corvette's doing well to stay up there in this group through that technical section. Now the Corvette can put the power down.
Hakeem coming through in the 54.
That Lotus 11 is just such a pretty car. And look at this scenery here, too.
Yeah, that is just a cracking shot. And one that we wouldn't have seen a few years ago because we didn't have the technology to be able to do it. I mean, we could have a helicopter shot, but even that wouldn't be as steady because you'd have to be kind of flying over rather than stable.
You've seen that shot in Herbie. They raced here in the Herbie movies with this group of cars.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so
Herbie goes to Laguna.
Yeah.
We need a good 53 out there. We should get a Herbie car.
We need it. Yeah, when we go to Portland, Steve Smith races a Volkswagen Beetle with us very quickly. So we'll see one.
Flat out down the front straight, roaring past our commentary position. And no change at the front as they dive into the first corner again. But it's starting to spread out a little. And at the moment, it's Ramleth, Brannan,
there's
Travis Engen.
Travis Engen there, late on the brakes. Travis Engen really can drive a nimble car very well. He knows exactly when to hit the brakes, so look for him to move up. And there's Randall Green. This is going to be a good race up front. 4 Lotus 23Bs and a Lotus 23C, pretty equally matched.
Yeah, and as you were saying about the grouping, I'm looking down to the top 15. There's about 10 seconds between the 147.1 that Ramleth has just done and Edward Hugo 157.9. So that's a good spread, and that keeps it even. You don't want any more than about 10 seconds between, your group, as it were.
Look at that car sitting up so high.
Yeah, looks nice.
Greg Meyer in the 1959 Sadler Mark IV.
That's an old car, 59. Yeah. You got to think about that. We were talking about how we race our history, but 59 was a long time ago. You name me one thing in your house that was from 1959.
I have a 59 MGA, but it's
well,
in my
garage.
That's
a car.
That's in my garage. Yeah.
I'm talking about something
I don't have anything else.
Something you utilize and trust implicitly.
No. Look at that. So that's turn 10, a very high-speed corner. And if you get that wrong, you're off into the sand and you're off and running into the tire wall. So it's very important to get that right. And then you've got to come down. A lot of these guys are coming way down into second. We might have a few hitting first here, coming around turn 11. And that's John Fudge in that Huffaker Genie MK3. Another really pretty car. And we don't see many cars like this out here. So, John, thanks for bringing that. I like the livery or paint scheme. How the tail of the car is white,
nice.
White stripes, white nose.
Yeah, that's beautifully prepared, isn't it? And we were talking yesterday, Huffaker, a very famous legacy name here in California, preparing cars for racing for many, many years.
Yeah, Huffaker's here this weekend. I saw his son. He was kind of exercising, walking around the hills when I was setting up my cameras, and I said, "You need a ride in?" He's like, "No, I'm just exercising."
Good for him. So John Fudge in that Huffaker Genie Mark III.
I love watching these sports car racers. They don't gently turn the wheel. They see the apex and they crank the wheel down and really get that car moving so they can get the traction.
Yeah. Yeah, it is always good to watch the hands. We tend to be kind of blinded by the bodywork, but watch the hands as they turn in because you really get an idea of
really
the work
see it
on
the 42 car there. If we can get some shots of the 42 car of Arthur Cook, that 65 Elva, because his hands are well over the bodywork. The bodywork on that car is so low. Look at the hills in the background. That's just beautiful.
There it is. There's that 42.
His hands are way up there.
Nice shot, Marley. Good work. And they disappear through Rainy Curve under the trees.
Oh, he's going back in.
Good that's good. You spotted it the same way I did. I was like, now what's happening there?
And that emergency vehicle looks huge compared to these cars.
Yes.
Here's the battle here. Now we're getting into more of the production-based sports cars, but there's that 42. Arthur Cook, we'll be able to see his hands driving with the 52 of that Devon. Robert Bowden following along in that Devon. These are great cars. We're really going to see their hands. Look at that.
Oh, that's a lovely shot. Look at that.
Trying to make one corner, one turn, but that's hard to do at those speeds.
Now you see the hands. He got a little wiggle on just to make it an adjustment, but perfect conditions. Great shot there all the way through the first two corners here at Laguna. Just what we want.
I tell you what, I like seeing this and the gentleman driving and seeing the hands, but man, if we would have seen the hands yesterday in that TA2 race,
yeah.
I heard at the podium we had a lot of waving with the one finger
happening
in the last laps of the TA2
So there was a lot of people
race.
who felt they were first.
Yes, yes.
That is
or
what
they
you're
were
saying.
pointing to the other guy, you're first? No, I'm first.
Yeah,
and that's
I
what
see.
they were doing. Yeah.
Who are we talking to here?
Brad McAllister
Oh, okay.
and Jeff Holden out there. But look at this. 3 equally yoked Devons going back. We've had 3 changes for the lead in this group, and that's what we love about vintage racing. It's not about the leaders, sometimes the mid-pack. So this Don Racine is the first Group 1 car out there. He's racing with that Group 3 of that Elva. So it's the mid-pack racing sometimes that's the most fun to watch. And look at the smile on that Elva as he comes over the corkscrew. That car's just going whee over there. That's a lot of fun to watch.
You know, I was asking Simon Gregg. Simon Gregg came up here for a quick chat, and I was asking about the corkscrew. And I said, you see a lot of varying lines that people take. And I said, but is that like making mistakes, or is there just one line? He said, there really, if you're talking about being fast, there is just one line. But it's hard to get that line because you're braking going in, you're turning in, you're dropping over.
And you don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see the apex until you're on the apex or until you feel it. You feel it before you see it. And sometimes you're like, oh, I missed that one. That's Bowden there in that beautiful white Devon. And I got to give it up for him because I was bragging about him yesterday. He always brings the coolest pit car. See, he's hanging that left rear wheel.
I was about to say,
yeah,
is he getting it off the ground?
Yeah, he's tripoding. So he's giving it all he's got right there. And all he's trying to do is beat his son Dennis, who's 2 cars behind.
So what difference to the Mini would it make if you extended the suspension further, like brought the wheels out? Could you kind of hot rod it a little bit?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be legal in Group 1.
No, of course not. I'm not talking about legality.
There's some Huffaker minis that are super wide, that they have these huge fender flares on, and they're almost like GT1 cars with the minis, and that gives you better traction. But these are Group 1 set up as they would race in the SCCA back in the day, saloon racing.
Looking at that.
He's trying to get that Elva Courier.
There's Hakeem at the back of this group in that Porsche 914, quite distinctive.
Got the line. Oh, the Elva goes wide. Oh, and takes it. Gentleman racing right there, and there's that Porsche 9144. So that's a well-balanced, I would consider that to be a mid-engine car, very light, nimble. And that Mini is a front-wheel drive, front-engine car, rear-wheel drive, mid-engine car, that Porsche. And then that Elva Courier is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive. So there's so much variation. That Corvette, way too much power to traction for that Corvette. So he's got the power on the straights, but then that Lotus 11, that white car you see right behind there, has got the traction and the nimbleness. This is a good group. So that sports racer there, the number 37 of that Renault.
Yeah, what is that? Tell me, what is that?
That's a 1987 Renault sports racer. The SCCA kind of came up with their own class of sports racers. It's a really competitive class. Our girl Amy Ruman, 2-time Trans Am champion, cut her teeth racing those. The Corvette's got some problems pulling over.
Yep.
I hope he can make it to a safe zone.
I was just about to say that's one of the prettiest cars out there, and sadly it's not going very fast anymore. What's happened there, I wonder?
Hope we get a shot of the tires, the skinny tires on these wire wheels of this Lotus 11. It's unbelievable that he can maneuver that car around the track on these skinny, like bicycle tire, bias ply tires.
So let's take a look. We've got a chance to see what happened a moment ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's the Vixen.
Yeah.
The TVR Vixen. Beautiful car.
Not too dramatic, but he's still off all the same. And out comes the yellow flag. 12 minutes to go in this race, and this is a busy man at turn 1 today.
Yeah. Well,
he looks cold, but he's warming up.
I always call it turn 1 also. It's turn 1 in my mind, but turn 1 is the little kick right after the start.
And Andretti's actually turn 2.
Andretti turn 2, but I always call it turn 1, and most every driver does too.
Yeah.
But there is a little kink right after the starter stand that is turn 1. There is no traditional straightaway here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca like we think of as Sebring, where you're down from like second gear and you have to go through the gears. A lot of the straightaways here, you're hitting them at speed.
So we're under caution here in our second race of the day, the
Turn
Group 1.
Turn 2 is still only waving a local yellow, but the rest of the course is on full course yellow.
Yeah.
I love
that's one of my favorites. Look at that. 164, Mark Hugo in that 356C from 1964. 57 years old.
Timeless body design. And rumor is that Adolf Hitler drew the design of the Beetle after the Beetle and thought that would make a strong car. They designed the Volkswagen Beetle through his napkin drawing. So many car designs have been done on napkins. And Ferdinand Porsche kind of adopted that design and made that chassis there.
Yeah, and the truth is, Hitler was designing what he felt was the sort of all-encompassing production car in the VW.
The family car.
The family car, yeah. And he had no interest really in design. It was just practicality, wasn't it?
He thought that the Beetle, the insect, made for a strong exoskeleton, so why not a car?
An interesting fellow. Ten minutes to go, and we're under caution, or at least local caution for now, in our race as we look down high on that beautiful 1964 Porsche, racing through the hills of Monterey. And now diving down.
There's that Marcos.
Oh, that's that Marcos, yeah.
I love that thing.
That is a good-looking car,
Mike
isn't it?
Denman, he and the TVR Vixen that we saw come off, they come to the races together all the time. They're with us at Portland quite a bit. The TVR Vixen is Rick Carlisle. That's a 1969 TVR Vixen. That Marcos 1800 GT from 1966. But that's a really pretty car. We don't see many Marcoses out, unfortunately, with us. So we're so happy he's out here. Look at that red Maserati right there.
Well, we're doing some wrangling here now with our Civic, just trying to wind out some cars going forward. And this is always a hard thing. I think you've got to drive the car, keep an eye on your mirrors, keep an eye on who's passing you and who's not. This is never an easy job.
But Ron Rigdon is the bomb of pace car drivers.
The
so we're
bomb.
happy to have him out here, yeah. That's what he calls himself.
Okay.
He says he's the bomb.
All right.
And I agree with him.
So we should get a few more laps in once we clear the car in the background there off, and
That's
also
that
one
Vixen.
other.
So that Vixen, he did pull off in a safe area, and he is not the reason for the full course.
It's the Corvette, right?
Yeah, it's the Corvette at turn 2, just past turn 2.
There's that Renault.
Don Racine's got some camber in those front tires, too. He's found something. He lives in the upper hills of the California-Nevada border, and so he races here quite a bit, but it's not unlike, we've seen him at Indy several times, Watkins Glen, Mid-Ohio. He and his little family of racers bring these minis all over the place, and you can rent cars from Don Racine from the most reasonable price I've ever heard in my life. I'm not going to quote you the price right now, but if you call Don Racine and want to rent a car, you are going to be amazed at the cost of renting a car all weekend with him. A well-prepared car, a front-running car, and if you ever wanted to drive a Mini around a racetrack, call Don Racine. He's got them. We have another car off there. It looks like maybe possibly Travis Engen. Who else would have that red car with the white stripes there just before
Is that the
turn
51?
11? I don't know. I see Travis Engen going around 11 right now. So it's not him. It's another red and white car.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good point. Well, we've slowed it right down now as they pass our commentary position. There's Jim Older.
You guys aren't getting the fortunate view that Jonathan and I are.
Yeah.
The sun is behind us, glistening off of these beautiful flowing lines.
We're actually right there in that building.
Yeah,
see
race cars, the triple high cargo trailers, as it is. We're in a cargo container with windows announcing, with aluminum foil surrounding us.
Yeah.
Aluminum foil sound.
It's like being in a NASA experiment.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a refrigerator that's not on, looking around.
Well, let's hope they don't turn it on.
Well insulated. You know, I haven't seen this car yet. That is Mark Francis in an Elva Mark 7S 1963. And he is definitely below that roll bar.
Yeah.
We always ask our drivers to make sure that they have about an inch or two
He's got
above
about
their
a foot.
helmet for the roll cage. But
Look at that mirror, too.
He's got it. There's that Marcos right there, Denman. That's a pretty car. See that? That's a Lancia Stratos windshield.
Yeah.
For that car, and look at the rear end of that.
I like
Almost
the rear
reminds
end of
me that Shelby Daytona Coupe.
Yep. Yeah. Very similar.
There goes that Maserati. Hope we get some shots of that coming up to turn 2. It's a beautiful car.
So if you're just tuning in, thank you for downloading the app and subscribing to our SVRA coverage. And along with Trans Am, we'll be showing you all the action. We're going to some really iconic circuits. We've already been to some. We've been to Road Atlanta and Sebring, now here at Laguna Seca, and we've just been to, on the west coast, to Sonoma as well. Coming up next is Lime Rock, the Memorial Day weekend, always fun. And looking forward to that.
So it looks like we're going to have a sprint race here. If they can clear that car. That MGB right there is Paul Conkle. He's never been here. He's from the West Coast, but he's never been to Laguna Seca. Yesterday he started pretty far back because he'd never been here, but he's moving up the field, doing really well.
A 1962 MGB.
I love MGBs. Great cars. So he's up to 18th. We got lights out, so we're going to have a new start.
Yeah, we'll just have under 5 minutes of racing, so we should get a couple of laps in. And the Mini's got his lights on again, and we're ready to go.
Look at that. That's just a sculpture.
A Lotus 11 Le Mans.
So we should see the safety car duck in.
And away we go. Now, good chance for Brannon now. He tucks up behind the Lotus 23B. He's in the seat. And away they go. Good restart also by the 63 of Randall Green in the all green and yellow Lotus. He got a ripping start too. And let's see how he gets on going into the first corner.
So they're having to deal with some lap traffic. So the lap traffic in an SVRA, we asked them to just go outside and let the faster cars pass on the inside. They're doing just that, so we appreciate that. Beautiful MGB GT there coming through. Here comes that Maserati. That is just a work of art on wheels coming right through under the bridge. And these Porsche 356s.
Yeah, nice to see them side by side like that. Look at that. Beautiful. You really can see how the 911 developed when you look at these older cars, and it really is not that different, is it?
No, you can really trace the lineage all the way back and see, yeah, that's similar. You know, Mustangs now kind of look similar to the Mustangs, but then they went through that whole 70s Mustang 2 phase that they just did not.
Yeah, I'm glad they've come back.
Yeah.
356C, and at the wheel, Alec Hugo. I'm guessing Edward and Alec are related.
Father, son, I believe. Maybe brother, brother. I think the Hugos, I think there's 3 of them.
As long as Victor's not here.
Yeah. And you can see the different iterations. You see the chrome going up the hood there of the 64 and the little bumper markers there of the 356B and the 356C. Different vents on the tails, but very similar designs. Oh, and we've got a great battle. As they come up the hill here. Very equally yoked Porsches, though.
Yeah, and it's panning out that way, too. They're kind of in unison, aren't they?
Yep.
How do they handle the corkscrew? Pretty well.
Yeah. They're very, I've gotten to drive a 356B, and I loved it.
I'll bet.
The shifter, they call it like stirring soup. It's hard to kind of find where the gear is, but just a lot of fun to drive. Very nimble. They very responsive. They handle every input you give them. Just a lot of fun. Here comes this battle for first.
Yeah, it's hotting up nicely. 2 minutes to go in the race. We've had one major caution, which slowed us all down, but now the fight is on.
So Randall Green is now back in 3rd place. You know, I'm glad that Randall Green has a green car. That just makes sense to me. Would Jonathan Green, would you drive a green car?
I would drive a Lotus any day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A British racing green, perhaps.
Yeah. Travis Engen there in the red car as they just fall down the corkscrew.
Yeah. Whoa, and here we go. The battle is on, coming through Rainy Curve for the win. Side by side there for a moment, but good defensive driving by Ramleth.
I don't know if this is for the win. We'll see. No, we got the checkered flag in hand. This could be for the win.
Yeah, this is it. So Ger Ramleth holding off there, but there was a big moment at Rainy Curve when they came side by side. Brannon making an attempt. Oh, and very wide goes Green, and sadly, he's lost out. Keeps it all together. Good save.
Look at this battle for Group 4 right here. Back there, that's the battle for Group 4. So Group 5 was decided. There's Group 4.
That was a moment he was going.
Let's see.
He was going for a moment. He was going sideways straight towards the guard barrier, but managed to bring it all back in.
So Greg Meyer takes the Group 4 win over John Fudge, and here comes our Group 3 Group 1s. So Dennis Racine is going to take Group 1, followed by, or Don Racine, followed by Dennis Racine. In their minis, go Mini Mania.
Mini Mania.
See, it's all, ooh, Paul Conkle has a little moment there, and look at that beautiful Jaguar. Jim Alder coming in, and he's going to be able to drive that car home to Reno, Nevada. Looks like it finished under its own power as he waves. Jim Alder drives the car to the track. No trailer queen for him.
Yeah, I had a good chat with him. He's on fine form. He loves his racing. He was at Sonoma as well. So he's made a 2-week trip of it. He must have had some interesting times in the rain at Sonoma in that open car.
Yeah. A lot of fun to watch.
So that completes our Group 1, Group 3, Group 4, and 5B SVRA race. A good field of over 30-plus cars. And let's take a check on the results then. Ger Ramleth with the win in that Lotus 23B, and a top 4 for Lotus 23s with Mark Brannon, Travis Engen, and Randall Green. Just losing out to third at the last moment by going wide, pushing on a little too hard, but recovering well to take 4th place ahead of Greg Meyer. John Fudge in 6th place, and the Devin Ryan special of Robert Bowden in 7th. Arthur Connor in the Devin D, the Elva Mark 8 of Arthur Cook in 9th, and Donald Racine, the man we were talking about earlier, in that Austin Mini Cooper S, takes 10th position. And we'll take a short break here from the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we'll be back with more action, more group racing to come. Stay with us. Group 2 is next.